Hey, Internet friends. 3 days ago, Hurricane Helene, a Category 4 hurricane, swept across Florida's Big Bend like an uninvited guest, leaving an unimaginable trail of destruction, traveling all the way up to southern Appalachia, where they don't get much hurricane action, to be honest. But Helene flooded the streets of Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, the Carolinas, parts of Virginia, making the rivers rise almost instantly, causing dam failures, mudslides, landslides, and biblical-style floods across Appalachia. Major roadways are down, cell phone service is non-existent, power is out for the foreseeable future, and many of these places are now only accessible by air. So the coverage of this catastrophe hasn't even begun. There are still entire towns underwater and countless people whose families are still searching for them. And I don't know, maybe it's because I was in the Smoky Mountains just last week, but the MSM coverage of this disaster is making me so mad. The only thing I've seen them talk about is Asheville, North Carolina. Because people have heard of Asheville, they've visited Asheville. The Biltmore Vanderbilt estate is there. It's a North Carolina icon, but there's so much more to North Carolina mountains than Asheville. And of course, other places are affected. There's tons of little towns in southern lower Appalachia that have been totally destroyed. And because Appalachia was already one of the poorest regions in the USA, most of these folks couldn't have evacuated even if they wanted to. So let's discuss what the media won't tell you about Hurricane Helene's devastation in lower Appalachia. Like I said, many of these mountain towns along Hurricane Helene's path of destruction are only accessible by air at the moment because they're either still underwater or the major roads and highways into these towns have been completely destroyed. And you'd think that the federal government would be sending these people all kinds of help, but a huge bulk of the relief, in addition to, of course, first responders and linemen and all these excellent people who dropped what they were doing to help, has been from private citizens flying in with helicopters at their own expense and at their own risk, administering aid and supplies, just trying to give help where it's needed. It's kind of strange because in the last month, Ukraine received $8 billion of U.S. military aid, otherwise known as U.S. tax dollars, and Israel received about $8.7 billion in U.S. military aid over last month. But here's President Biden, who I don't even register as an alive person. I don't even think of him being the president. In my mind, he's dead. Speaking about Ukraine aid and Hurricane Helene aid just 3 days apart from each other.
I'm proud to announce a new $2.4 billion package of security assistance. We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time. So we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
I really don't think y'all understand how bad it is in the Southeast right now. We have towns that don't exist anymore. Chimney Rock is gone. The city of Asheville is cut off from the world. This is not an exaggeration. All the bridges leading into the city have been washed away. They have no food, no power, no water, no internet, no cell service. They don't even have radio. I've been running the generator for the last 3 days, and we're starting to run out of gas. And this is on Highway 123 heading from Aisley to Greenville. And this was a 1 mile long line to get gas because they were the only people we knew around that had gas left. We got all the way to the end and they were out. They had no gas. We checked every gas station in Pickens and Aisley and Liberty. Nothing.
If the federal government can't step up for times like these, why are we funding it? Dams are collapsing, our critical infrastructure is crumbling, but Ukraine and Israel both got $8 billion in taxpayer money from our rat politicians. But wait, our money isn't the only thing going to lands to which most of us will never travel, to be dispersed to people most of us will never interact with, never meet, while our fellow Americans suffer. Our National Guard, many of them, are currently deployed to the Middle East on Operation Spartan Shield. Just within the last month, I think it was 700 Tennessee National Guard members have been deployed to Kuwait. In Kuwait. They are in Kuwait. In Kuwait, Internet friends. Not in Tennessee National Guard. Tennessee National Guard. I'm sorry. But is this not just like hair-pullingly bizarre, pants on head, upside down world, a good portion of them are not in Tennessee helping their own nation and their own people. And of course, they're not the only state National Guard overseas. There's a running list, and I'll put it up on the screen. It will shock you. What cannot be understated is how we don't even have a fraction of the real picture here. The actual numbers of missing and dead, the real devastation. People who have lost everything. Their homes, their cars, their pets, their family. I don't want to downplay any of it, and I don't want to be disrespectful to people who are still out there waiting for help. But also something people really aren't considering are the agricultural and economic consequences of such a disaster in this region. Generational farms lost, gone, so many livestock dead, complete orchards and crops washed away. Cotton, peanuts, pecans, meat, dairy, these are all products of this region. And that production has halted because, for one thing, there's no power. And for another thing, pecan trees take decades to produce. Orchards take many years to establish. You get the idea. So the economic cost will be huge. Food prices nationwide will skyrocket. The supply chain will surely be affected. Not to mention, the means to transport these items have been destroyed in this storm, in this hurricane. Think railroads, highways. Yes, this will impact every hardworking American. Countless numbers of farms and small businesses have been destroyed. Transportation companies have been swept away in the waters. So my analysis is that this problem is going to be exacerbated potentially by two factors. The first one being that, based on the latest information available up to September 30th, there is a developing weather system of interest in the Gulf of Mexico region. This system has a medium chance of forming into a tropical depression or storm as it moves northwestward into the Gulf of Mexico and potentially around the middle to latter part of this week, following the same path as Helene. And listen, these towns and these dams can't handle even a little bit more water. No more rain. Even if it's half as bad as Helene, it's too much. The second factor is the imminent port strikes. I'm paraphrasing as I read, but due to unresolved contract negotiations, the International Longshoremen's Association, which represents 45,000 East and Gulf Coast dock workers, will strike at midnight on October 1st, 2024, which is about 5 hours from now. This walkout, which might cost the economy billions daily, wants a large wage hike and port automation limits. Both parties have failed to reach an agreement despite last-minute efforts, causing supply chain disruptions that could affect perishable goods, automotive imports, and trade. And it says possibly affecting inflation and the economy before the presidential election. So its impact on goods ranges from food like fruits, bananas, cherries, meat, fish, cheese, electronics, furniture, and home improvement products, auto parts, beer, wine, and spirits. And with the potential impact of $5 billion daily from the strike, the economy will inevitably suffer, meaning real people and working class will suffer. But I also can't hardly blame people for wanting higher wages, especially when everything is so expensive. Housing is unaffordable. A basic cart of groceries is luxury price. You know, I can't hardly blame them. But with the port strike plus the major supply route gone, yeah, you know what I'm getting at here. Calmly go get what you need and maybe get some cash out. Because I will tell y'all this, okay? This is important, and nobody is talking about it. A big grocery store around here in North Georgia is called Ingles, and Ingles is headquartered out of Asheville, North Carolina. Of course, their systems got taken down in the hurricane in Asheville, which runs all the grocery stores throughout the South. So our Ingles in Cartersville, Georgia, is not selling gas right now. They aren't filling prescriptions, and they're only taking cash. No debit card, no credit card, no EBT, no Bitcoin. So your digital currency in times of disaster is all but useless. Just saying, from my own observations, this is happening 5 minutes away from me, and we barely have any storm damage. Also, side note, Make sure your homeowner's policy is up to date. This entire Southern saga is what historians write chapters about, the never-ending chaos that led to the end of an empire. I hope we aren't at our end, but I'm just saying, the more chaos there is, the more desperation there is. The more the supply chain buckles, the more people can't get what they need. That's when people start rioting and looting, which the government would love because they can declare martial law and postpone elections and whatnot. A lot of people always say stuff like that. They cry wolf and they are alarmist for clickbait or whatever, but I actually am just wondering, when do we call it? What do you think, internet friends? I always look forward to reading your comments. I hope you were not affected by this hurricane or the biolab fire or any of that. I hope you were comfy, cozy, safe, healthy, and happy. I look forward to reading your comments. Like I said, thank you so much for watching, subscribing, supporting my channel on Patreon, and buying my book, The Deep State Encyclopedia. Bye.